But I want to thank my colleagues who have come to the floor on both sides of the aisle to speak to some of the specifics that are contained within this bill, because I think it helps to understand why we are at this late point in the calendar with a package of different bills focusing in different areas, whether it's a small land conveyance, whether it is creation of a wilderness area that has come about through a great deal of compromise and collaboration, or whether it is a conveyance that will allow for economic opportunity through mineral development, timber harvest, or grazing opportunities. I think it does speak to just the diversity of what we are dealing with so many of our public lands, and the reality that they're different all over. Very different in Alaska from what my friend in New Mexico experiences. The similarity that we have is that we don't have the ability to do it on our own. We have to come to the federal government. So what will happen is, whether you're in New Mexico or whether you're in Alaska or points in between, you have local consensus emerge around an issue. They bring it to the state, and the state works with us at the federal level, members of the House, members of the Senate, and we continue to work this process, and it usually is a very collaborative process. Now, just because it's collaborative doesn't mean that we agree on every issue. There's a great deal of give and take that goes on, because when you're talking about your public lands, every acre is precious to somebody. And I know that full well in the legislation that we've been working, the Sea Alaska bill, for almost a decade now. The fishermen have certain interests. Those that harvest timber have certain interests. The conservationists have certain interests. The school district has certain interests. And so how we build this takes time. But it seems like the only place we don't get time is here on the Senate floor. We don't have the time allocated to us. And nor do I would be happy to spend hours and perhaps days discussing issues like we have raised in this public lands bill, but I don't think most of my colleagues are interested in debating a reversionary clause for a parcel of land in downtown Anchorage that can be sold so that they can have an opportunity in Anchorage to build something new there. It just doesn't rise to that level of immediacy and concern. And so, again, we do the best we can to try to be balanced, to try to put together something that works for all. And it is a balancing act. It requires a level, I've used the word finesse. If we were to have put together a package that was overly weighted towards new wilderness or new parks, not only would my constituents back home not support it, I couldn't support it. So it's how we work together, and I want to recognize the good work of those on the Energy Committee who have worked with us to construct something that is good and balanced and fair. And I'll acknowledge my chairman of the Energy Committee, Senator Landrieu, who has worked with us to really find that level of balance. I do hope that as we look at a new Congress, we will be working together as colleagues to try to figure out a better path for the end game for these smaller bills. I've been part of way too many lands packages now where we have the same debate. Why is it attached to this? Why are we doing this now? I would like to get us to a place where there was a more certain process so that members knew that their small conveyance bill, their small study didn't get caught up in end of session kind of madness, or caught up in things that distract from what it is that delegation has been attempting to do for that state, for that part of the country. So I would ask my colleagues, and I've spoken with many on this side of the aisle as well as the Democrat side of the aisle. Let's be working together to figure out how we can relieve this bottleneck, because I sincerely want to do that. But what we have in front of us today is our opportunity to bring some finality, to bring some conclusion, to bring some resolve to issues that have been outstanding for a considerable amount of time. As I mentioned, in several instances, almost a full decade. So let's clear the deck. Let's move this lands package on this NDAA bill so that next Congress we can begin with the many, many public lands bills that are still in the queue, that are still waiting for a process. But you can count on me to be working with my colleagues to ensure that we have a way forward that will be more expeditious than we have seen historically.